Hello, my gardening friends. Today I'm doing a little check on the European buckthorn that I chopped down last season. I chopped down about a 2.5-inch thick tree and it is growing quite vigorously behind me. So let me show you exactly how it's growing and why it's so important to keep an eye on this and maybe even do a couple little management techniques to avoid this in the future. So here is our not so dead European buckthorn. You can see down in here that I chopped this off. It's about 2.5 inches wide here, and I chopped that guy down, and now look at it all. There's tons and tons and tons of these little branches that have all grown out. We've got some that are, oh my God, this is a good like 4 feet long. So really, really important to watch this and make sure that it isn't growing stronger than it was before you chopped it down. So I'm gonna share some techniques on that, and I'm gonna clip this guy back and cover it up with something so that it won't grow quite as nicely moving forward, and hopefully we can just get this thing gonzo over time. So in addition to all of these little runners and everything, we've also got a whole bunch of new plants growing. So this is probably from the berries that had fallen before. And then this guy, I'm actually just gonna pull right out. So you can get the whole root system there. And then that guy's gone. So hopefully I can get a couple more of these guys and definitely try to manage this big sucker over here. Here's another baby too. As cute as you are, you've got to go. They generally come out if they're this tiny. I got pretty much most of the root system there. Okay, I'm all set for my job. I've got my kneelie pad, I've got my tools, I've got this bin here that I'm going to use for the clippings because I want to make sure that I throw them in the garbage and don't actually toss them or put them in a compost pile, etc., because that will just make the problem worse. These little clippings can get their footings elsewhere, so want to make sure that we destroy them and not exacerbate the problem. So you can see that there's all this growth here. So I'm just going to clip away, and then I'm going to cover this so the sun can't make these little branches happy, because all this growth, all this greenery is just pulling in energy to the plant and making it stronger. So doing the opposite of what I'd like to do. So you can see way down in here as well, lots of growth from the base of the plant. Yeah, there. See how it has that very distinctive kind of orangey bark that comes out. A little bit more down here. Oh, there's some more. And look, there's even new growth coming from down here as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right there. So I'm gonna put that right down. So this is why it's suggested that you not only cover the bark, but you cover all around the base of the bark where these little guys are going to shoot out. So definitely something to consider if you're trying to get rid of buckthorn as well. Okay, so all of this is all the growth that was coming off of this one little trunk here. So I'm going to cover this up so that hopefully it doesn't have any more of this growth. And then I'm going to try my best to cover around the base as well. So this is what I have. I've got a good full bin of all of the clippings. I'm going to put these into a black garbage bag and keep it outside for about a week or two to solarize it. So that's going to just annihilate this plant and make sure that wherever it ends up, it doesn't keep growing. So I'm going to go do that now, and hopefully this little guy will not be coming back anytime soon. Okay, here is what we are left with. This is where all the growth was. It was coming out over here and over here and here, all sorts of places. There was a ton coming out over here. And then you saw that it was kind of making all sorts of new little growth throughout this area as well. So I'm hoping I got most of it. And now I'm going to cover this up. Folks have said you could cover it with a tin can. You can cover it with black, very heavy plastic, just to make sure that no sun gets through, so that none of this growth sees the sunlight and is able to pull energy into this plant. So we're hoping that this can just die off on its own, because I don't really have the tools or capability to haul this right out of the ground. So hoping to just kind of choke it out as opposed to pulling it out completely. So now that we've got this one kind of contained-ish, I just look across the creek and look, I've got another one there. This right here, this kind of a skinnier one, is definitely another European buckthorn. And then you can see that there's tons of babies kind of all amongst here as well. So I'll be getting to that at some point as well. I just wanted to note too that if you are thinking of sawing down one of these kind of smaller trees or even a bigger tree, this wood is so hard. When we sawed this down, the saw literally got stuck within the tree here. So it was really quite tricky. And so just be careful, especially because the branches themselves have pointy little spokes all over them. So it is quite tricky. So please be careful. So this is actually one of the branches that we chopped down a while back, and we're just kind of using it for firewood. So look at those spikes. They're pretty deadly. There's some more back here as well. They are quite tricky to remove, so just be careful of those guys. They are not friendly. So I went to go find a garbage bag, and I found that the garbage bags were actually thinner than this Joe Fresh bag that I'm going to reuse. So I'm gonna put this inside out and then tape it around with some electrical tape, and this makeshift little plant of mine, I'm hoping will contain it. I don't have the kind of material to give it a skirt, and frankly this is in an area where it gets flooded, so I'm not sure that would be very effective anyway, and the bucket that I have down here is too short. So this is it. So hopefully this will contain it, and either way I'll come back next season and make sure there's no growth coming out from the ground, and hopefully not from the stem itself as well. And one last thing, just so no one is confused about what this is, if someone happens upon it, I'm just going to write on it, not that it'll last, but it's an attempt. So I'll leave the bag open just for a little while, just in case there's any critters in there that want to climb out. Then I'll seal it up and make sure this thing is good and gone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the video interesting and helpful. I'm going to be putting some links in the video description below of how to identify European buckthorn and how to manage it either on your property or if you're out in the community doing an invasive species pull. High five for that. High five for managing invasive species on your property too. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, if you think it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more gardening adventures and tips just like this. Thanks again and happy gardening.